How do you figure out the value of a highly saturated color versus one that isn't saturated? In this video, I'm going to look at a few common questions about values, and I'm going to show you exactly how to look at values of color and figure them out. And the most important aspect is how you can use values to suggest light, to get a strong light effect. So imagine having a look at a scene like this and then trying to figure out what are the values that apply to the colors in this scene. How are you going to create a strong light effect? So first of all, we've got to understand how to measure the values. And for that, we've got this Munsell value scale. And this is simply a way to try to get an objective assessment of what's a dark, what's a middle value, and what's a light value. We'll look at the importance of this just now, but this is basically the tool that you're going to be given when you're learning about values. Why is it all in monochrome, black and white? Well, that comes to the question I was asked. How do you assess the value of fully saturated colors? So let's have a look at that quickly. So here we have the primary colors. This is acrylic and it's photographed indoors, so fairly neutral light. If we get our value scale and consider the values of these colors, they're all fully saturated, like I said, nothing mixed in. So yellow is pretty obvious. It's a light. We can see that instinctively, and we'd probably put it here in a number 8. Let's look at blue. We know instinctively that's a dark, and we'd probably have that maybe 3 or 4. We'll look at that clearer just now. But then we've got red, which is confusing because red is warm. We look at it as this fiery color, so it must be very light. But we can see immediately it's not 9, 8 or 7. It's probably closer to 6 or maybe 5. 5 may be correct, but it doesn't make sense because I'm seeing that red and I'm comparing it to a gray. How could that be? All right, the way to start learning how to look at colors as values is, let's have a look at these colors in gray scale. So there are those colors once again, and now the yellow is still pretty clear, probably an 8 or 7, leaning towards 8 there, and blue, more number 2 or 3. All right, so it's one of those. There's not a right or wrong there, they are fairly close. But now the red. And now the red is really looking like a middle value number 5. Despite it being red hot, it's none of these, not even a 6, more like a 5. So with values, it's not about the saturation, it's not about whether a color looks warm or cool, it's about its lightness or darkness. And that is why a black and white photograph still looks extremely effective, because there is strong value contrast. It's the value contrast that create the light in a scene. Okay, so the first thing is, let's understand the value scale. It's divided between darks and lights. Now I've taken out pure white, which would be the number 10. You can even ignore number 1 because that's pure black. So for purposes of a landscape, we're talking in the region of number 2 to number 9. And we divide them once again in half. And over here we have the shadow values, and here we have the light values. So when I look at values, I assess 1 to 5. They're going to be in the shadow family, and 6 through to 10 will be light. Number 5 could perhaps fall into a shadow as well. It kind of does depend on the scene. If everything is very bright and you've got then a number 5, it's going to look like a shadow. But number 5 technically is, of course, right in the middle, so a middle value. The point here is to understand that colors depend on whether there is light hitting them or not. Well, let's look at each color outdoors, part of it in light, part of it in shade. Right, so here's the blue, the part in light, looking quite light now, doesn't it? Maybe a number 7, perhaps even number 8. And the shadow family, probably number 3. Okay, so now we've got the same color, but distinctly different when you come to paint it. Right, let's look at the light. The light blue is that. That's the dark blue in shadow. Same blue from the tube of paint, but in direct light, much lighter in value. It's now in the light family of values, and in shadow, it's now in the shadow family of values. If we paint those two colors in our painting, it's going to be very clear to the viewer one is in light and one is in shadow, and therefore we're creating a strong light effect. Let's look at the red. Similar situation. The red in light is that, and the red in dark is that. One's a warm red now, and one's a cool red. Values, shadow number 3, and lights possibly number 7. So by painting those two reds like that, we can indicate shadow and light. Perhaps, let's say it's a rose, for instance. The cool red will be in the shadow side of the rose and the warm red on the light side. That is how you create a light effect with the red color. Let's look at yellow. Same sort of thing. Let's just compare in light. Maybe something like a Hunter yellow in shadow. This very deep sort of ochre color. Light effect created. We have used values in a way that's going to create a strong light effect. So that's how to use values. If you're not sure of the value, look at the color in grayscale version and you'll see that it's possibly in the middle and you've been a bit confused by the color temperature. So it's really not about the color so much as the shadow or light value relationship. Now, I'm sure there are many questions still about values, but I hope that this has helped you to isolate what's most important, using values to measure the lightness and darkness of a color and to get that all-important sense of light in your paintings. That's what we're really after. If we can get that light effect, then your painting is speaking about the true nature of light, and that's all we're really after, or at least one major aspect of our paintings. Well, there's something to consider. See if you can adjust the values in your next painting to really get a strong light effect. Let me know how it goes. Now, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because there's plenty more coming and you don't want to miss the next video. And check out the free painting course for you up here, also a link in the description. There's a lot you can discover on my painting school. Well, enjoy your painting, and until next time, cheers for now.